Sir, a person who is running a business, maybe offering sale,
Okay.
especially जैसे कि हम लोग बोलते हैं सर स्ट्रीट में जो स्ट्रीट वेंडर्स होते हैं आइसक्रीम सर्वर.
Okay, Abhijit, what do you mean by vendor?
Sir, vendor are those persons who try to sell the products to from one. So from person to person, they try to sell products.
Okay, Ghanshyam, what is the exact definition of vendor?
So vendor are we can say they are the retailers who sell the product to the final customers or consumers.
Ashray, what is the exact definition of vendor?
The vendor are the supplier who sells the product or goods to another company.
Okay. So in case of vendor, you see in the slide, vendor is a person or a company that sell goods or service to someone else in the economic production chains. Because we are in the wide content of supply chain, so we directly focus on production chains. The next part is that vendor or supplier are given standing, status, or title according to their attainment of some level of performance, such as delivery, lead time, quality, price, and some combination of variables. So this is if you go to the customized definition, that vendor is any person or company that sell the good and services. The next part is that if you go to the vendor point of view, the most important objectives are to help the buyer in case of future selections. So if you are a integrated organizations, if you purchase a huge amount, or you can say it is bulk amount of raw material from a source, in that regard, the sellers or the particular person will help you for the buying option, and as well as for the future selection also. The next important objective is to provide buyer with information helpful in subsequent negotiation. That is why the contract negotiation is directly initiated in this particular vendor ratings or vendors. The third objective is to provide the buyer with important information which he can act upon any corrective measures. So similarly, if you take the best example in case of your buffer purchase by Indian Army, who act as a vendor or which company act as a vendor? जो buffer tanks Indian Army ने purchase किया? No, not Tata. Yes, the company. Buffer's tank. For purchase of buffer tank, who is the vendor? From Government of India to Indian Army. Anyone?
So is this Mahindra?
Not Mahindra. You are a little bit closer, but not Mahindra. It's Hinduja Group under the flagship of Ashok Leyland. Clear? Ashok Hinduja, Anil Hinduja, and another brother is there. These three brothers can negotiate as a vendors for workforce negotiation in case of Indian Army. Clear? So here the person, or maybe a single person or a multiple person, or you can say that is a particular companies. So their companies, Hinduja Group, that is a flagship group. This company, it's also introduced some multinational company that is under the flagship of Hinduja Group. That is Hindustan Unilever is operating his FMCG product throughout the India. And the next part is that if you take this particular objectives, starting from the help the buyer for future selections, to provide buyer with more helpful informations, and the next is provide buyer with more important information that the company or the or consider it is the organizations can act upon any corrective measures. So depending upon this important vendor, how the vendor are rated. So in case of vendor rating, or in case of go to the vendor's rating features, or you can say it is the various characteristics of vendor ratings. The first one is time delivery, quality, price, and other factors. So we'll discuss one by one. If you go to the other factor point of view, that is supplying some useful market information and meet emergency order. These are also included in case of major actor, in case of vendor rating. But most important thing is timely deliver. If you take the best example in case of some India's leading transport companies like your Agarwal Movers and Packers, then Safex, then Green Channels, yeah, and then you consider Kapoor and Sons. These they are enable various type of timely deliver this particular product and services to different destinations. The next part is that qualities. As you know, quality is a bunch of satisfaction which is directly offered from manufacturer to customers. So by the help of vendor or vendor act as an intermediate in between manufacturer and sellers. That they have to maintain or they are adding some value in their goods or services. The next part is that price. The price should be you can say it is comfortable levels or you can say it is suitable level for both manufacturer point of view and both or your customer point of view. The next part is that vendor rating methods. So how the vendor ratings should be done. So there are three methods are there. One is categorical method plan, one is weighted point plan, and the last one is cost ratio plan. So we'll discuss one by one. In case of categorical plans, this is very subjective methods. The managers from concerned department prepare a list of factors important. They are huge, and if you go to the particular purchase department, the purchase department or purchase manager is responsible for arranging different kind of suppliers, vendors, and different factor which is directly or indirectly involved in case of making more profitable relation or business in case of vendor ratings. The next part is each of the major suppliers is evaluated against each evaluator list of factor evaluation is done in terms of goods, satisfactory and poor. So that is why nowadays most of the company are ratings of the vendor by providing some option in the form of good, satisfactory and poor. So if the company shortlisted a particular vendor and who is above the satisfactory level, the company directly make a contract negotiation with that particular vendor, and by the help of this particular plan or particular vendor rating method, they'll select the particular vendor for their raw material and resources, you can say. The next important thing is weighted point plan. So here, the buyer decide on the factor important form evaluations. So there is a particular form is made by the companies, and the company will provide to number of vendors. When the form evaluation is above the satisfaction level, in this regard, more weightage is given to that particular vendor. In this regard, they are ratings different kind of vendors. The next is weightage for each factors. So as far as concerned with, as you know, we have already gone through in case of operation management, there is a particular method, gravity search method or gravity concentrate methods, specially reference to your product layout or plant layout. That means what? Whenever you establish a new department in the existing organizations, that new department is well connected and with equal distance that each and every department and sub-department reach to that particular part. For example, in case of store, the same thing happen in case of your vendor ratings. So whenever you choose the vendor by applying this weighted point plan methods, in that regard, you make a particular form, and this form contains various parameters, and each parameters have suppose 10 point or 10 weight is given. In this regard, first one is your availability of that particular vendors, then the service levels, then qualities, then timely delivers, then the vendors should not be bankrupted. So these are the few factors which are given in the form of some weightage, and that weightage should be calculated. Then the last point is the vendor performance is respect of each factors. So whenever you choose different parameter with some weight, and after getting satisfaction level, the vendor performance is respect to each factors. The next one is cost ratio plan methods. So this is the last methods. In case of use this method, the vendor rating is done on the basis of various costs incurred for the procuring or you can say it is purchase the material from various suppliers. The next part is that the cost ratio are assigned for the different rating variables such as quality, price, and timely delivery. That was that I had already told that whenever you search a particular or a specialized vendor for your companies, that means the first rating should be such as your quality, the price. The last one is your timely delivery, and some other factors are also added. But in case of cost ratio is calculated in case of percentage on the basis of total individual cost and total value of purchase. Here the typical example, suppose your total delivery cost is 5,000 and the total purchased that is 1 lakh, then the delivery cost ratio that is 5,000 divided by 1 lakh into 100, that is 10%. That is your cost ratio. So similarly, you can calculate for any, by the help of this particular formula, you can calculate other companies also. The next is what are the basic benefit of vendor ratings? First, as I told, this vendor rating is helping minimizing the subjective in case of judgment, especially reference to your decisions, and make it possible to consider all relevant criteria in accessing different type of suppliers, or you can say it is vendor. The next part is that providing feedback for all area in one package. That, as you know, in the most of the feedback, whenever you go through e-bidding of searching, or you can say in case of e-bidding, or you can say that is e-tender for searching a particular vendor. In this regard, the vendor will provide different kind of feedback regarding the service, regarding the quality, regarding the timely delivery. And due to that thing, the all areas starting from the quality, then timely deliver, then the price, then the career, you can say the facilities provided on the service provided by the vendor, that should be in a particular area, and that should be composed in a one page. The next part is facilitating better communication with vendor. So these are the basic things, because vendor provide a huge amount of informations, and that information should be properly, if you properly forecast these particular informations, you can be smoothly execute different level of your sales, promotions, and as well as marketing also. The next part, this next part is providing overall control on vendor base. That means whenever you properly communicate and assign a particular vendor for shipment, for you can say that is for resources, in that regard, you can take the whole control over the base of this particular vendors. Then requiring specific action to correct identifying performance weakness. If you find any kind of weakness or difficulties, they should be rectify as early as possible. The next is establishing a continuous review standard for vendors. So in this regard, for continuous improvement, as far as concern with company point of view, as well as concern with vendor point of view or supplier point of view, company are nowadays starting review. They make a particular standard review for vendors. Due to this things, you can implement or ensuring a different level of continuous improvements in case of vendor performance. The next point is building vendor partnerships, especially with supplier, having strategy links. As you know, as far as concerned with different supplier strategy links belong to consular shipping, the carrier, the facilities, the mode of transportations, the contract negotiations, the rule regulation on the government. You can say that is taxation. There should be different strategies should be applied. The last one is developing a performance-based culture. So whenever you get attached with more number of quality or you can face or you can collect different quality of vendors, there is a particular performance-based culture should be enhanced for the company as well as for the vendor also, and it will improve your loyalty in case of vendor, in case of you can say it is customer also, you can say in case of your product also, or indirectly call it enhance your brand value across this particular supply chain network. The next part is the basic or most important demerits of vendor ratings: inexperience with product and services. Suppose you are assigned a new vendors, that means who is not experienced your product. That means it directly go to delay in delivery. The next part is that in case of price, in case of quality, that factor should be considered in case of inexperience with product and services whenever you go for vendor ratings. Then unfamiliar with corporate operations. The third one is resistance within the companies. And the next part is threat to securities. So if you assign a particular vendor which is not providing IT support for tracking, tracing different kind of activities of carrier from one place to other place, this directly a particular threat to your companies. So these are the most important demerits of vendor ratings. Then in case of vendor rating, the most important thing is your contract negotiations. This is the next content. Till that, any doubt from your side?
The contract negotiation is done by which level of management?
That is done by middle level of management. And they take the prior authority from the top level of management. So mostly if you go to the designation wise, starting from the senior manager to vice president level, they will authorize to go for contract negotiation. But most of the work is done by the middle level of management, and the top level of management will provide the approvals. Okay,
Yes,
moving to the next.
Yes.
Okay. In case of contract negotiation, as you know, this is a particular process that involves or discussing and compromising on contract terms in order to reach the final agreement between two or more parties involved in a transactions. In most contract negotiation, each party try to negotiate for the best interest of themselves for their business. This is the particular term, or it is a particular process between two company or two persons. We consider it is two or more parties are also involved in case of transactions. The contracts are negotiable, can include real estate lease, manufacturing warranties, employee contract, business deal, and financial contracts. So these are the best example as far as concerned with contract negotiation. So whenever you apply this particular Asiana housing project, the most important thing is the real estate lease. So if you take the best example, there are more government subsidized apartment across Bhubaneswar cities, and most of the government subsidized apartment the government has provided the lease of 99 years. But in the meantime, you have to in the meantime, you directly focus on the price and then the quality of that particular apartment whenever you directly focus on housing project. The next is manufacturing warranty. As far as concerned with the manufacturing warranty, nowadays most innovative machine are or most technologically enhanced machine are introduced in case of manufacturing organization or productivity organizations. In this regard, most of the companies are provide, I consider it is in the form of warranties or guarantees. So most cases, the warranty is considered as a contract negotiation between manufacturers. The next is employee contract. So whenever you are hired by a particular company, the company provide the contract, or you consider it is a contract negotiation between your employer and in between you. The next is business deals. Whenever a company is acquired, suppose in case of, as you see in case of latest case, Lakshmi Vilas Bank, that DASC Bank is acquired Lakshmi Vilas Bank. So in between these two banks, the RBI made a particular contract negotiation for the foreign bank, and they provide the best interest themselves for their business development, especially refers to the banking sectors. And the last point is the negotiation aspect of transaction is very important. If you go for transaction point of view, that should be neat and clear. And each and every term should be very much important whenever you go for real estate or manufacturer or employee contract. Because once the contract is final, all parties are legal bound to term of contract terms and cannot be overlooked this term without being liable. So that is why if you take the best case studies in case of that is Bajaj and Kawasaki, in that case, they directly separated. They just broke the contract of manufacturing different type of engines, which is directly reference or directly concerned with two-wheelers. Similarly, in case of the best contract between Eicher Motors and Royal Enfields. In case of India, the Eicher Motors take the contract negotiation for manufacturing of Royal Enfield bikes in case of India. So in that case, they directly focus on the most important parameter, that should be the most important thing, the designs. Then the next part is the pricing strategies. The next part is the term that should be, or you can say it is the lease of this particular design for a particular period, starting from 5 to 10 years. And according to this, if this contract is finalized, all parties are legally bound to turn the contract terms. If you sign this particular contract, you cannot be eliminated or cannot be considered is exist from this particular legal bounds. So this is very much important whenever you go for contract negotiations. The next part is that what is the best approach to contract negotiations? For example, there are different type of contract negotiation approaches there. The first one is identify the object for entering the contract, research contract laws, preparation for negotiations. So I'll give one by one example. If you go to the identify the object for entering the contract, every party to the contract must be specific idea of what they want to gain from the transactions. Before attempting a negotiate a contract, make lots of things you have to compromise as a list of terms that will not negotiate or give up. In this pin, you have to identify the objectives of this particular contract. So most of you have seen Amri Medicals in Bhubaneswar. Have you visited anyone nearby Amri hospitals? कौन गया था Amri hospital आसपास? No one. Hello.
No, sir.
Okay, if you go to that particular area, there is a particular LIC housing project is there. And in case of LIC housing project, LIC has given a lease in the form of contract negotiation to different level of people. Clear? So what happened, those who are already take the particular lease, in this lease, they have mentioned the deadline of submission the keys of that particular flat. तो LIC ने बोला था 2 साल बाद घर का चाबी दिया जाएगा और फ्लैट का चाबी दिया जाएगा. But due to that is strictly mentioned in case of that particular contract lease, or you can say it is contract negotiations. But the thing is that the LIC is unable to complete the particular project within 2 years. That should be extended to some amount, around 5 years. So in this regard, in the same contract negotiations, there is a sentence retains: if the first party is unable to pay the unable to provide the flat within the deadline, they will provide extra amount or penalty amount to the flat owners. तो वहां पे क्या हुआ, लोगों ने मतलब जाके जब 2 साल बाद चेक किया, वहां पे कंस्ट्रक्शन चल रहा था. So just imagine how much penalty will be paid by this particular government subsidized department. So that is why whenever you purchase or whenever go for sales or whenever go for contract negotiation for your business to business, you have to identify the objective for entering the contract. That is the most important things. So before attempting to negotiate the contract, make lots of things you will to compromise. But compromise, for example, the quality levels also. For example, the timely delivery level also. In some cases, the price level also. So these are strictly, whenever you enter, you just carefully read those particular terms and conditions in case of contract negotiation. The next, the most important thing is law. So as far as concerned with, if you take the best example in case of Indian laws, especially reference to contract laws, the contract are legally binding agreements which are regulated by the court. Before attempting a negotiate or you can say it is a deal, search online or get expertise or expert advice to determine whether the term or contract you are trying to form is legally allowed. Clear? So here I will give the best example. Recently, the BMC has, or your Bhubaneswar Municipality Corporation has allotted 1 BHK flat or 2 BHK flat near your nearby your some hospitals, or that is the location is known as Malipada. In this regard, the term specially reference to contract law that should be properly given. What given? They provide the deadline. In this contract law, they are directly specify different location for parking area, different location for your you can say that it's parking area, sanitation area, or sorry, that is the you can say it is sanitary area or waste decomposed area. These areas strictly mentioned, and they are followed some guideline as far as concerned with the contract law in case of housing project. So these are the things before you go to that particular contract. In case of legal binding agreement, you must negotiate or you must go for searching online. Even you go directly concerned with some expertise, most of the cases people are directly concerned with lawyers regarding this particular contract negotiations. The next is prepare for negotiations. In most cases, the first party and the second party arrange a particular meetings. That means the gather of all facts, figures, and financial statement and documents for negotiation process. In case you need to show the proof of anything that you may need to back up your negotiation point. So these are the things is required. The first thing is the fact in case of term and conditions, the figure, financial statement, all document related to first party and second party, that should be neat and clear. There is no particular, you can say that is forgery things, or you can say some errors things should be considered. And finally, directly provide some proof in case if you find any kind of difficulty during this or preparation of this contract negotiations. Then the next part is what is the best approach to contract negotiation. So as far as concerned with the best approach to contract negotiation, first one is prepare a backup plans. The next is list your priorities. The fourth one is set your goal or set a goal. And the fourth one is know the difference between what you need or what you want. If you go to the first one, prepare the backup plan, create a plan for possibility that the contract failed to form and that both sides cannot be agree on the term and negotiations. The next part is the list your priority. It is important to know the difference between what you need out in the transaction and what you want from both of for the first party as well as the second party. The next part is set a goal, know your bottom line, so you can determine when to accept or a deal and when to walk away. The last one is review your priorities and ask yourself if the term that you changing for is worth negotiating. That means if you're negotiating with the vendors or negotiating with the suppliers, is it making more money or it is a worth negotiation? That should be considered from company point of view. Then the next one is contract negotiation process. So the first step is contract negotiation process, that is prepare and prepares. So this is the most important step in the whole contract negotiation process. To understand the contract negotiation is not about who's better negotiators. So below the some things which is directly go to the step. First one is issue identification, then is issue information, clarify the issues, prepare the meeting agenda, and the last one is get ready to negotiate. This is the first step of contract negotiations. In this first step, I just repeat issue identifications. If you find any issues, just identify. Then information related to that issue. If it is clarified, that's okay. Then after clarification, you must prepare your meeting agenda and finally go for negotiate. Similarly, the next one is the contract negotiation process or negotiating meetings. So this is the meeting proper where you will sit down with suppliers or more number of suppliers. And most important here is that this meeting of the time is not cancel negotiation meeting, but anytime you can meet with a supplier to discuss their offers. It means you are negotiating. So there is no time limit, or it is not time bounded negotiations. Anytime you can directly contact to the supplier or vendor for making the contract negotiation process, or you can say it is making a more amount of fruitful negotiation meetings. Then the third one is, that is contract negotiation process. This is the third process that is summarize the all point. So this is very important, as I told, in case of fact, figure, financial statement, document, and document proof should be needed to get the parties agreement to all point that you discuss. And you simply divide into two category: point that you have already agreed, and point that you or the other side would need to get back to each other. That should be very important for contract negotiation process. Any doubt from your side? Screen is not visible.
No, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Visible, sir.
I've already shared the screen.
Now it is visible, sir.
No,
For
screen
some
is
time,
visible.
yes,
Okay.
sir, now it is visible.
So that's all from my side. If you have any doubts, you can clearly if you have any doubt, you can directly ask questions. Because we at around maximum 2 number of classes is required to complete this module number 3. Extra 2 more classes is needed. It is my personal advice to attend these classes. And finally, we are discussing some multiple questions as far as concerned with the last year, from which area most of the question will be appears. Yes.